Hi, my name is James, and in this channel, we talk about money in a simple, direct, and sometimes uncomfortable way, because nobody else is going to protect your savings for you. Today, I'm going to show you how one country's nightmare can become your roadmap to defend your money. Your money doesn't need to disappear from your bank account to ruin your life. It doesn't have to be stolen. It doesn't have to be hacked. It just needs to lose value, slowly, quietly, every single day, while you're busy working, paying bills, and trying to save what's left. That is exactly what inflation does. And when inflation gets out of control, it stops being just a number on the news and turns into something much more dangerous. Your salary starts to feel smaller, even if the number is the same. Groceries feel heavier on your budget. Rent becomes a problem. Saving money starts to feel pointless. One of the most extreme modern examples of this is Venezuela. For years, people there watched prices explode, salaries lose meaning, and the local currency go through multiple changes just to stay usable. At the same time, the country sits on enormous oil resources. So here is the first big lesson. A country can be rich in natural resources and still have a currency that collapses. Having oil, gold, or gas does not automatically mean having a safe economy or a stable currency. This video is not about politics. This is about personal survival. This is about your money, your savings, your future. In the next minutes, you're going to hear 7 rules that make your money harder to break, no matter where you live. If you follow these rules, you are not inflation-proof, but you are much harder to destroy financially. If you ignore them and just keep stacking cash and hoping for the best, inflation will eventually collect its payment. Let's start with the basics in simple language. Inflation means prices go up over time. Maybe your coffee costs a bit more. Your rent is slightly higher each year. The same basket of groceries that used to cost one amount now costs a little more. Most people accept this as normal. A little bit of inflation is usually expected in many economies. Hyperinflation, on the other hand, is a completely different beast. Hyperinflation is when prices stop moving slowly and start jumping. You don't feel it only once per year. You feel it every month, every week, sometimes almost every day. Your salary can't keep up. By the time you receive your paycheck and go to the store, prices are already higher. Money stops working as a store of value. You can still use it to pay, but you can't trust it to keep its power over time. One of the clearest warning signs that a currency is in deep trouble is when a government starts removing zeros from its banknotes. That is called redenomination. It means the numbers became so large and ridiculous that people can't use them easily anymore. Imagine seeing prices with 6, 7, 8 zeros at the end. Imagine needing a stack of cash just to buy a sandwich. At some point, it becomes unmanageable. Venezuela experienced exactly this. Over the years, it went through several changes to its currency. Zeros were removed from prices and banknotes more than once, including big reforms in 2008 and again in 2018. And even after those changes, in 2021, there was another cut, more zeros taken away to try to simplify daily transactions. That is not a healthy reset. That is a massive alarm. When you see a currency go through that many changes in such a short period of time, it means people's savings have already paid a heavy price. Now here's the important part. You don't need to live in Venezuela for this to matter. You don't need hyperinflation in your country to lose money in slow motion. Even normal inflation can quietly destroy the value of your cash over years and decades if you don't have a plan. So let's turn this story into 7 practical rules to protect yourself. Rule number 1, cash is not a long-term plan. Most people feel safe when they see a number in their bank account that doesn't move. They think at least it's not going down. But in an inflationary world, a number that doesn't move is lying to you. Your buying power is what matters, and that can go down even while the number stays the same. If your money can buy less every year, you are losing, even if your balance looks stable. So repeat this sentence to yourself. Cash is a tool, not a strategy. Cash is great for paying bills, dealing with emergencies, and staying flexible. But holding all your wealth in cash for years is like keeping ice in the sun and being surprised when it melts. The longer you just sit on it, the more it shrinks in real terms. Rule number 2. One currency is one point of failure. If 100% of your life depends on a single currency, you are betting everything on one system. If that system starts to wobble, you have a problem. If that system breaks, you have a disaster, and no one sends you a friendly notification that says, "Hey, your currency is about to lose half its value. Please diversify." Of course, not everyone can easily move money into different currencies or countries. There are legal, practical, and financial limits. But the principle still stands. The more your entire life is concentrated in a single currency, the more vulnerable you are to that currency's problems. Whenever it is realistic and allowed, look for ways over time to reduce total dependence on just one currency. Rule number 3, build an emergency fund, but make it real-world proof. You've probably heard many times that you need an emergency fund. Most people interpret this as save a pile of cash and leave it there. That's better than nothing, but in a high inflation environment, a big pile of cash starts to rot. The number stays the same, but what you can buy with it shrinks. A smarter approach is to think in layers. Layer 1 is immediate liquidity. This is money you can access instantly for rent, food, basic bills, health issues, and short-term surprises. You keep this in very safe and very liquid form, even if inflation hurts it a little, because speed matters here. Layer 2 is your protection layer. This part is designed to resist inflation more. Depending on what is available and safe in your country, this might include certain financial products or assets that have historically responded better to inflation than plain cash. The exact solution will be different for each person and each country, but the concept is the same. Not all your emergency safety net should sit in a form that melts quickly. Rule number 4, measure your wealth in purchasing power, not in numbers. It is very easy to get excited when you see your account balance go up. You see a bigger number and your brain thinks, "I'm richer." But that is not always true. If your account went up by 20%, but the cost of living in your area went up by 50%, you are not richer at all. You are actually poorer because your money buys less than before. So change the question you ask yourself. Instead of asking, "Is the number bigger?" start asking, "Can I buy more than last year? Can you afford more months of rent? Can you buy more food? Can you cover more months of living expenses with your savings?" That is purchasing power, and that is the real metric that matters for your financial life. Rule number 5, diversify beyond your neighborhood. Many people think they are diversified because they own several different assets. Maybe a few different stocks, maybe some bonds, maybe a bit of real estate. But if all of that is inside the same country, using the same currency, exposed to the same economy, then a big part of your risk is still concentrated. If your country has a serious crisis, many of those assets can suffer at the same time. True diversification is not only about owning more things, it is also about spreading risk across different places, different currencies, and different economic systems where possible. That doesn't mean you should blindly send money abroad without understanding what you're doing. It means you should be aware that owning 10 assets inside one fragile system is not as safe as it looks. Sometimes a smaller but more globally diversified position can be more resilient than a large pile of local assets that all depend on the same conditions. Rule number 6, debt gets dangerous when stability disappears. In calm, stable conditions, debt can be a useful tool. You borrow at a reasonable cost, invest in something that grows, or use it to smooth your cash flow. People use debt to buy homes, start businesses, or invest in their education. When the environment is predictable, this can make sense. But when inflation is high, when currencies are unstable, or when governments and central banks constantly change the rules, debt becomes much more risky. Interest rates can change. Access to new credit can disappear. Your income might become less reliable just when your payments are still fixed. You can be trapped between rising costs and inflexible obligations. So in unstable times, flexibility becomes more important than optimization. Big, aggressive leverage that looked smart in good times can become a nightmare when the environment changes. Keeping buffers, avoiding the maximum possible debt, and designing your life so that it doesn't collapse if one number changes is a form of self-defense. Rule number 7. The ultimate hedge is income power. When currencies wobble, when prices jump, when savings are under pressure, the people who survive best are not always the ones with the biggest accounts. They are often the ones who can still earn. People with skills, people who can work in different industries, people who can move, adapt, learn, and create value in more than one context. Your ability to generate income is a real asset. It is not visible on your bank statement, but it might be more important than any single investment. Skills can cross borders. Digital skills, languages, professional abilities, and entrepreneurial thinking give you options. Options are a form of protection, so treat your skills like part of your portfolio. Invest time and effort into them the same way you would invest money into an asset. Now let's bring everything together. Venezuela is an extreme case, but the lesson is universal. Inflation is not just a headline or a statistic. It is a force that punishes the unprepared and rewards the people who think ahead. You don't need to panic. You don't need to move to another country, but you do need a plan. So here is a simple exercise you can do right now. Open a note on your phone, on your computer, or grab a piece of paper. Write your personal money defense plan in 3 lines. Line 1. My cash buffer. How much do you keep for emergencies and where is it? Is it in one account, in one currency? Or do you have a structure that actually makes sense for your reality? Line 2. My diversification plan. Are you exposed to just one system, or do you slowly build different layers of protection over time? Line 3. My income resilience. If your current job disappeared, how many ways would you have to make money? What skills can you improve that make you harder to break financially? If this made you rethink how safe cash really is, you already took the first step. Most people never question it. They just work, save, and watch their money quietly lose power. You're not going to be one of them. You're here to build money systems that survive reality, not fantasies. So if you want clear, no-nonsense videos that help you actually protect and grow your money, hit subscribe right now. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next lesson. Thanks for watching, and remember, your money should work harder than you do.